you see that Norality returned from YouTube. And it's not just that. She did not just return from YouTube. She also just waited until people just forgot that she drew nasty, nasty Baku, like nasty art of the MHA boys when they were drawn as minors at the time. This is 2020, this is 2021. So this is before like any time skip or the manga ended. So this is before they were adults. I will show you. And it's not even that. She's getting supported by like this fucker. This massive fucker by the name of fucking this guy right here. Anthony whatever Graham Golora or whatever the fuck his name is. This fucker, this smaller fucker, a well-known video essayist. It talks about media.
In this video, I'm going to show you why Noralities is a hypocrite in regards to sexualizing minors in anime. Disclaimer, I want to preface this first. Do not attack or harass Noralities. This video is simply an observation made about Noralities which I wanted to highlight for further discussion. On YouTube, there are many YouTubers which primarily cover content about anime. I'm sure many of you have watched people like Giguk or the Anime Man. These represent the bigger Anitubers of our community. Of course, when there are bigger Anitubers, there are also smaller Anitubers, and today I'll be speaking about Noralities, an Anituber who has recently blown up.
Yeah, she blown up. So at the time, she blown up for 3 videos. One was an entire video on why she was tired of isekai, and the video was really bad because the isekai she was talking about. I also have to clarify. Her tired of isekai video is just why being a female weeb is hard, and she's just crying about like fan service and how this is unenjoyable, blah blah blah. The entire video is you could just summarize. If you don't like it, don't watch it. And not just that. Um. Freaking. Oh, there's a fucking and she made a second video to problematic media and lolicon. I'm not going to talk about my opinion on lolicon, but she talks about child coding, and this is at the time with the Alulu drama. At the time where I'm going to show you, Dragon Maid Alulu. Yeah, this character right here, Alulu. As you can see, she is very well endowed, and they talk about like how this character, who is freaking like fucking very much quadruple digits, is coded to be like a teenager or whatever. And she talks about blah blah blah, comparing Lolly to the swastika, and not just that, also compared it Lolly to freaking Confederate monuments, which the difference that is these are symbols that have real. This was more symbolism, and Confederate monuments are real people. Like they're meant to memorize and glorize real people compared to Lolly, which is, I hate to say it, drawings.
Up due to her video essays about Kobayashi's Dragon Maid and for her I'm tired of isekai
Yeah, she complains about ReZero and shit.
video.
She called ReZero male power fantasy, and she like tries to moralize fucking Amelia. She does a really terrible job saying like why it's a male power fantasy when you have like Subaru who has like PTSD from going back to save points.
I highly recommend you give those videos a watch so you can understand her viewpoints and where she actually comes from when she critiques these shows, namely referring to the fan service in Kobayashi's Dragon Maid and the vast generalizations she makes in the I'm Tired of Isekai video, in which that isekai animes tend to the male power fantasy, a statement she makes despite the fact that she hasn't actually watched many isekai shows.
Yeah.
So what is the purpose of this video? Is essentially to highlight a weird hypocrisy that Noralities has when it comes to fan service, of course referring to the sexualization of child characters. This video, however, does not devalue any of her points in her video essay, but it's simply made to highlight an obvious bias and double standards shown between what she says and how she actually acts, which may highlight the lack of validity when it comes to her video essays. In other words, keep what Noralities says with a grain of salt. If you want a video which deconstructs Noralities' video essay about I'm Tired of Isekai anime, I highly recommend you check out the video by Natalie X Hunter.
Okay, Natalie just basically just brings up the fact that she's a woman. She debunked everything Neurality says like 3 times in all her videos.
And she does a good job in deconstructing it and pretty much showing why Noralities is misled. Furthermore,
oh fuck no! I forgot Kikazu was involved with this shit. Fucking Kikazu. He was involved with the Neurality drama. All he really said was Sister Crone is not racist and lollies are drawings. Now he's like some fucking Hassan fence sitter. So we can all say Kikazu supports 9/11.
or if you want a video which debunks her latest video essays, I highly recommend you check out this very small YouTuber called Kikazu, which pretty much identifies a lot of the bad faith arguments Noralities uses and the many logical fallacy pitfalls that she uses in her video essays. In Noralities' video about Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, she explains that it's very hard for her to actually enjoy the show due to the constant fan service of a childlike character called Kana.
I
forgot about that.
Like Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. It's a wholesome romance between a monster and human, and an openly queer romance at that. But the more I watched, and the more the story strayed from Toru and Kobayashi, the increasingly less delighted I became. Until finally episode 6 happened and one of the children pins down another child, and I had to ask myself, how did I get here?
She also mentions that in season 2 of the anime, a new character is introduced, and of course this character is presented to be 16 age-wise, regardless of her canonical years as a dragon, and therefore fanservice of this character is not okay because she is still a child, physically.
And again, Ilulu is supposed to be visually 16 anyway, so I don't know what the argument is here, y'all. She is still depicted as a minor.
When it comes to fanservice of characters in shows like these, especially fanservice involving younger children, some people dislike it, some people say it's perfectly okay, and other people are indifferent. At the end of the day, whichever side of the aisles you fall under...
Yeah, I have to give my opinion. Like, I can bring up the target audience as fucking teenagers, and they're just trying to attract horny teenagers, and it's just going to be the question of, why is adults watching this shit? And it's just because Japan really likes making a lot of shows for teenagers. Also, Japan doesn't give a shit. They care about the domestic market more than the international market. Not just that, we also have to deal with the fucking fact that it's just going to be there regardless of how you feel. They're not going to do anything about it. It's going to be prevalent there, and obviously we're going to touch upon the fact that Neurality drew inappropriate MHA art and some other shit. I also might make an entire video just as a retrospective of the entire drama.
Your choice. My main issue is that Noralities makes it very clear that sexualization of children characters in anime is not okay, and that's the side of the aisle that she actually falls under. Noralities is actually a art graduate. This is something she relies on in her Coding for Characters video, where it's in this video she uses her knowledge to elaborate on how these shows sexualize these child characters. Now here's the more interesting part, and the crux of my problem. Noralities herself has drawn yaoi fanships of My Hero Academia characters, whilst in my opinion, these pieces of art are actually harmless. It's still taking children who are not adults and putting them in
some of these are nothing burgers. It's just like 2 boys kissing
positions. These characters are 16.
What the fuck? Okay, that one's more inappropriate.
They are children. Yet noralities has drawn them in out-of-character sexual ways. The most
Yeah, they're canonically adults right now, but you have to give the context that 4 years ago, they were children, they were minors.
egregious example is this
Oh, shit, yeah.
Bakugo sketch, wherein Bakugo is seen with an arrow pointing to what is presumed to be his genitals. He is also displayed extremely sexualized in an out-of-character way.
This is who Anthony supports, by the way. Anthony, you support someone who draws this.
And he's seemingly sexually objectified. When I first saw this, I actually thought it was a prototype or alpha drawing of a body pillow, and I'm not even joking. If you don't believe me, let me compare this drawing to an actual body pillow, and if you were to ask me, they look very similar in style, and this is a clear-cut case of noralities sexually objectifying a 16-year-old child. However, this goes even further. Noralities would also make extremely suggestive comments towards these young
I'm so thirsty for soft Baku. I don't understand. You can be soft, my shitty son. It's okay.
16-year-old children stating that she was thirsty for Bakugo, and I'm sure we all know the
So the only reason I didn't do a second request because I have no idea how their ship is portrayed.
connotation that the word thirst or thirsty is used in when relating to characters in anime, which is of course a sexualized manner. So regardless of what you think, this is a clear-cut example of noralities sexualizing child characters despite being someone who dislikes the practice in anime. In other words, she's a hypocrite. If you want to actually check her Tumblr to check these images for yourself, however, you'll find that
she deleted them.
Actually
And she just kind of hid from the internet for a while, then came back.
deleted these images. They were available, as you can see, on the archive on the 28th of April 2021. And as of today, when I'm writing this video, on the 30th of April, the images are not available and have been deleted. The most likely outcome is that after her video blew up, people found the hypocritical art pieces of her sexualizing 16-year-old children and brought it up, and then she deleted the images. Of course, it's my assumption that she deleted it due to the potential backlash, because it's a very, very weird coincidence that they randomly disappeared overnight. And if your stance is that these images aren't sexualizing 16-year-old children, and these images are actually perfectly okay, then why did she delete them? After all, they should be harmless, right? I believe actions actually speak louder than words, and as stated, I don't particularly care for the fan service in the shows that Noralities has mentioned. However, when your platform is built around the idea that sexualizing children in anime is bad, you yourself cannot then...
Yeah, this is just hypocrisy. And the issue is that it's not like she ran off the internet, it's the fact that, well, obviously she was still being funded on her Patreon, and not just that. It's the fact that she just can randomly come back with open arms by, like, Anthony and everyone else.
Go and participate in the act that you criticize. In her most recent video about cancel culture, she did make this statement.
Then finally, on the right side, we get to a person did or said a bad thing a long time ago. Again, you have to consider the context of when the statement or action was made. If it was brought to light, did they apologize sincerely? Are they in a position of power? Because maybe they shouldn't be.
Guess who's in a position of power? Norality. Norality's in a position of power for the fact that she literally has an entire audience of a queer audience ready to defend her at all costs. An anime circle jerk, leftist echo chamber ready to defend her at all costs.
Hopefully, in the spirit of her actual statement, she'll actually come forward and address this contradiction if she...
No, she didn't. That's the sad part. Jake. She didn't.
hasn't already by the time I put this video up. But hopefully we'll get an answer from Noralities herself, and hopefully she won't actually ignore the situation. I'll actually give you one more analogy here. What Noralities is doing actually reminds me of celebrities when it comes to climate change. They'll normally say you need to curb your carbon footprint. And as they say that to you, they'll then take their private jet and then fly to their vacation. And this is actually a thing that happens, by the way. And it's essentially rules for thee, but not for me. This is essentially Noralities in a nutshell, where she says sexualizing children is bad. By the way, I'm going to go draw sexualized Boku no Hero Academia characters, which are 16-year-old children. Thanks for watching, and as a reminder, do not attack Noralities. As a reminder, just because I've pointed out that Noralities is a hypocrite, this doesn't actually criticize her video essay, so it doesn't really devalue it, apart from addressing the fact that she has bias, and you may want to address the validity of her statements.
Yeah, we might actually have to make an entire video on this situation. But no, we have some other stuff to talk about.